So I'm here with Alexander Zaidelson, who is the CEO of Beam, and Beam is, as I understand, the first organization that is launching on mainnet for the first time, an implementation of Mimble Wimble, so the first Mimble Wimble cryptocurrency. Is that right, Alex?
Yeah, absolutely, Richard. Thanks for the intro. And you're right, we are the first Mimble Wimble implementation to launch. We're launching tomorrow with some fanfare. So we set the launch date on January 3 to commemorate the Bitcoin Genesis block 10th anniversary.
So why did you choose Mimble Wimble?
So we were actually pretty much fascinated with the protocol because we understand that privacy is something that's lacking in the crypto ecosystem, and a combination of privacy and scalability is not available at all. So Mimble Wimble solves that problem. So we felt that it's something that's very interesting, that's an amazing technology that can be implemented to solve this problem. And in our vision, we actually went a little bit further, and we can discuss that, because what we want to create eventually is a currency that is private on the one hand, but opt-in compliant on the other hand, to let people have the choice of whether they want to be 100% private or play ball with the system.
So my understanding of Mimble Wimble, the idea is that it's private, anonymous by default. Is that correct?
Absolutely, that is correct.
So what would be your way of reconciling, or what kind of compromise can you offer within that?
Sure. So the blockchain we launch tomorrow is plain vanilla Mimble Wimble with some small additions that will allow us to do our thing in the future. But it's 100% private. Nothing can be revealed by looking at the blockchain or the source or the destination or the amount, nothing at all. But in the future, we would let our users add encrypted data onto the blockchain and then use the data to present their transactions to a third party of their choosing so that they can do compliance.
Okay, so if you were compelled to provide information, you could then verify that you were the sender?
Well, not really. If you choose to stay private, then there's no way to compel you to do anything. If you choose to stay private, then nothing is stored on the blockchain. There's no way to compel you to reveal anything at all.
So after the fact, it's not possible to.
Absolutely.
Right.
But if you choose, let's say I'm a business, right, and I want to, accept this currency as payment, and want to report to my auditors and pay my taxes in the end of the day. So then I create a special wallet, and then I will add this additional data, and it will have special auditor keys that I would be able to give to the auditor, and then they will be able to see all my transactions in a secure and provably complete way.
So my understanding then is that you would plan to allow a new type of wallet to be created for people that wanted to give away the anonymity.
So basically, it would be either two separate kinds of wallets or just one wallet with the different settings. We still need to figure that out. Right. And we'll be spending like a large part of 2019 figuring this functionality out. It's very complex. The technical side might be relatively understood by our team, but the exact use cases and the exact information that needs to be provided on all the use cases, for that we have identified some very strong partners that will help us define that. And then eventually we'll create something that could be compared to cash, right? If I trade in cash, I could stay totally private, but then I can also, do all the invoices and all the stuff and then report my money. And it's my choice, right? So we think that people need to have sovereignty over their funds, and it includes ownership, and spending, but also sovereignty over information. If I don't want to disclose anything, fine, my right. But if I do want to disclose, because the system is still there, right? And eventually businesses want to disclose things because they want to convert their money to fiat at some point, we want to give them this possibility as well.
Couldn't you really do that, arguably, with the system the way it is by just to play the advocate of the devil here? If you wanted to declare your transactions, you would just keep a notebook alongside and right, and do it that way.
Yeah, but then somebody could say, well, you have this very nice little notebook, but how do I know that this is really what you did, right? So in this notebook you have, you say that you received like 100 beams, but maybe in reality you received 1,000 or 1,000,000 and then sent that million somewhere else, right? So it's very hard to prove. Like, try doing that with, say, Monero or Zcash today. It's really hard to come, say, to a bank or to an auditor and prove your transactions.
So this is a concession, in fact, to the banks and to the compliance, to the supervisory bodies.
Yeah, well, I don't see that as a concession. I see it as a concession to people who want to use cryptocurrency. Because if you want to use something as money, you need to have the choice, right? You need to have full sovereignty. You need to have a choice whether to be fully private or, you know, you need to have a way to provably present your transactions if you choose so, right? If I'm a business, I still have to pay my taxes, right? I have to present my transactions to someone, right? So today, this option is not really there with crypto, right? So there is either Bitcoin and a lot of other great coins, which are all public, right? A business cannot really use money that's all public, right? Because then anyone could arguably see all my transactions, understand a lot of stuff about my business. I don't want that, right? On the other hand, there are great privacy coins which do have some scalability issues, but let's put that aside. But then you cannot bring that money back into the system, right? Because the system says, no, Monero or Zcash, we don't want to touch that, right? Because we are afraid there may be some bad things. We have no way of checking, so it's almost impossible. Now, what we want to create is a combination. People who want to stay private, stay 100% private, and no way to extract any information about them. But businesses who want to receive our currency and then report it will have a way to do that without compromising their privacy to everyone on the internet, right? And that's what the money should be, right? I should be in control of information.
Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit. Tell us a little bit about, say, yourself and your own background and what brought you here into Beam.
Sure. So I'm relatively new, or I'm new in the world of crypto, and we have an interesting combination in Beam in general. So we have our advisory team who are crypto long-timers, like Guy Coram, who is our Kaiser Soze, that's his title on the website, doing a lot of work. He is a long-timer. And some other guys, but myself and the CTO, we're relatively new in this, and I think there is a great combination because we're bringing experience from outside of crypto, and we have strong backing from inside of crypto. So my background, I was trained as an applied linguist, which is a combination of languages and computer programming. Then I had a career as a software developer. I co-founded my first company in 2005. It was called Nereus. And we were doing stuff in peer-to-peer file sharing networks. If you remember eDonkey, Emule, Nutella, and eventually BitTorrent. Stuff like monitoring, trying to sell content, which was, now I understand, was kind of a stupid idea, trying to sell content in a place where everyone, is there for free stuff. We built, I think, the world's first peer-to-peer mobile client back then on the Symbian operating system. So it was a very nice startup, and the technology is somewhat similar to blockchain, right? It's also permissionless and decentralized, right? And actually it also withstood Sybil attacks really nicely, okay? Then I had another startup of my own, like a solo project. I built like a desktop dictionary where you could right-click any word on the screen and get translations to like 600 languages from Wikipedia, Wiktionary, and other places. That was eventually sold to an Israeli internet company. I then worked as VP of product, as product manager and VP of product in a company called Wi-Fi. We were doing a lot of big data analytics on data collected from mobile phones. And then I spent a couple of years in a VC fund in Israel, investing in growth and late-stage companies, mostly in hardware. So learned a lot about, semiconductors and medical devices and 3D printing and a lot of other stuff. And then I joined Beam because I felt I wanted to do something, rather than just being a VC where you just watch people doing things.
Yeah, but there are a lot of things you can do. You can join a lot of different, types of, ventures. Why one focused on cryptocurrency, and why in particular Wimble?
So I think cryptocurrency is an industry that has an immense potential, right? The promise of cryptocurrency is to replace money, like the top thing that can happen is replacing all the money in the world, right? We'll see whether it happens or not, but that's like the top thing. Today we're at whatever, $150 billion, 100, I don't know, like what's the, don't remember the today's market cap of all the cryptos. So the way up is just amazing, right? Now the technology is also amazing. I like once I understood how the thing works, on the example of Bitcoin mostly, and then Wimble, I was pretty amazed by how it's such a genius invention that, you know, once you understand it, it's relatively simple. But this set of ideas that creates a decentralized system where nobody can rig it, or it's almost impossible to rig it, that's just great. And you know, I knew some people from the team, and I liked it very much. I liked the vibe and the tempo and the speed and the amount of innovation. So I joined.
So how would you describe Wimble in a way that people would get it and would immediately want to come on board?
So Wimble, as I like to put it, maybe a bit too ambitiously, it's what Bitcoin should have been in the beginning, because it has all the great properties of Bitcoin. You know, decentralized, permissionless, proof of work, that has been proven over 10 years. But it adds confidentiality without sacrificing scalability. And this is really nice. And this is kind of pretty genius because, again, the guy who invented it, or the gal, whoever that was, they just turned some things upside down, you know, removed the addresses and made the whole system from a slightly different angle, and it resulted in it being very elegant, and also the size of the blockchain very small. And it also allows for a lot of extensions due to the fact that you require two wallets to talk to each other to create a transaction, right? Some people might say it's a disadvantage of Wimble, and in some cases it might be, although there are workarounds. But it actually allows me, you know, if we're thinking next step about compliance, so I can create a transaction, say, okay, Richard, I want to pay you 1,000 beams, but I want an invoice, right, in return. Or you want to invest in my company, I want whatever KYC, blah, blah, blah documents that I want you to enclose or provide or whatever. So this transaction creation is like a conversation between the two parties, and then they set their own rules for each transaction. And that opens a whole new world of possibilities, which, say, in Bitcoin, it doesn't work that way, right? You just send stuff.
Yeah. So are you making the comparison with Bitcoin because that's the number one cryptocurrency that everyone knows, or is that actually your main competitor for comparison?
Well, I mean, some people say, and some reputable people say, that the only thing that can overcome Bitcoin in the future is something that provides good privacy. Okay, whether it's Beam or another currency, we don't know. Wimble has a great potential to do that. Again, because it uses all the same basic principles, but with a twist, so much, and it makes it, you know, private and scalable. So which Bitcoin is lacking. So yes, there is a chance for us to be eventually the cryptocurrency. So and also I'm talking about Bitcoin because it is the principles that it's built on are actually replicated in most of other good cryptocurrencies. You know, let's say also in private cryptocurrencies, right? It's like additions on Bitcoin, while Wimble is just taking Bitcoin and, you know, turning it upside down, like and just looking at the ideas and just making it much more elegant, as compared to say Zcash and Monero, which have this great technology, but they kind of add on top of the original Bitcoin, creating additional stuff to obfuscate, right? Well, Wimble just kind of has it built in, which is pretty amazing.
So you mentioned that you had some interesting ideas in terms of the roadmap or the future developments for Beam.
Yeah.
Can you say something about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a lot of plans. So as I mentioned, one thing is this opt-in compliance. Another thing is related to confidential assets. So the blockchain actually allows creating additional kinds of assets on it, issuing assets. And there's a lot of talk about tokenized security, tokenized art, tokenized everything. And when you do that, you also need privacy, right? Because I don't want nobody to know how many shares of this company I have or pieces of this Picasso painting I have. So again, Mimble will solve that. So this is another one. We're also looking for integrating second layer solutions. We already started a project working on Lightning because, you know, being a proof of work coin, Beam is slow. And you need Lightning, so this is also on the roadmap. We also have another project which we called Lumini project, and it's a cooperation with a company called Stable Unit, a startup. And we are tinkering with the idea of creating a stable coin based on this. It's very early still, but this is also on the books. And then we have a lot more usability stuff that we plan to do. We have a lot of improvements in our desktop wallet. We'll be releasing mobile wallets as well, and of course hardware wallets, because right now we don't have them.
There's some talk about how Beam would be compared to Grin, and there are a lot of people in this particular sector in this industry that would have a certain affinity for Grin's model, because they're not VC backed.
Yep.
And there isn't any kind of founder's reward or a certain percentage that is reserved.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about that? First of all, what is your approach? How is that being done with the VC investment? And what are the pros and cons?
Sure. So our approach was startup based, right? So we believe that innovation is best done when you have funds, when you have people working 24/7 on the project, getting good compensation. We were pretty much inspired by what Zcash did in this respect, so we're kind of copying some parts of Zcash model, and it worked nicely for them. Obviously, it's not the only model, especially in the cryptocurrency. Probably the better projects use full community unfunded approach, but we chose this one. And we were able to put up this team, and we started in March, right? And we're launching now. So I think this proves that with funding and a good team, you can move much faster than the other way. Okay, but again, time will tell. The community in crypto is very strong, and we really love what people at Grin are doing. They're doing great job, and there is a lot of talk, and they're also launching very soon, so we'll see what happens. And we think that there will be more Mimble coin in their coins, right? People will definitely do another Grin and do another Beam, so there will be forks, no doubt about that.
You know of some already, don't you?
Forks?
Yeah, or alternatives like so Grin was the first one to announce. Beam is the second, and Beam is actually launching a little bit before Grin now.
Yep.
But there are some others in the works, aren't there?
Not that I know of, frankly. No, there was like a project, I don't remember the name now, something starting with W, but it was like actually a practical joke.
Right.
But we are sure, and I'm sure there will be more copies of Grin's code, of our code, because people want to change stuff, right?
Yeah.
Say Grin has this inflationary model, right? So people want to change that. That's fine, and I think there is enough space for many coins, and hopefully Wimble kind of becomes the standard, in 2-3 years from now. And kind of all the Bitcoin clones will be replaced by Wimble implementations in this that way. Because again, privacy is super important.
So you do have some idea that Wimble might eventually replace Bitcoin?
I think it is probable, yes, because privacy is lacking badly. Either Bitcoin finds a great solution for privacy, but that's hard, right? We know that that's hard, and people were trying to do that, and it's still not there. Or it might be overtaken by a Mimble implementation, or maybe tomorrow somebody will invent something even better. But right now, I think Mimble is the best protocol for cryptocurrencies.
So why not on a side chain of Bitcoin?
I think there are some technical difficulties there, and you could potentially create a side chain, but it might turn out to be like a glorified mixer. Right, so you would send money to some side chain that's called whatever, Wimble Bitcoin, but then you need to get it back, right? So it might be just like a glorified mixer if you do that.
Why would you need to get it back?
Well, good question, but I understand if it's like a side chain, then you would just use it to obfuscate the transaction and get back to Bitcoin, right?
No. I mean, you then have Mimble Wimble coin chain that is secured by the Bitcoin blockchain.
Oh, okay, I see. That might be. But I think we checked that, and the best technology-wise, I think there are issues that are very hard to overcome.
Can you say anything about them?
No, I don't have that much information about that. So our team in the beginning, we looked at that, and I think there even are some people working on that, but I don't know much about that. And I think there are technical difficulties that make it really hard.
My understanding is that that it could be possible, but that it's just very new, that a lot needs to be done. So,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So we chose that's just a way of creating a new blockchain.
Yeah. Okay. So any other last thoughts that we should talk about?
Well, we are super excited about the launch tomorrow, and we're just putting the final pieces in place right now as we speak. We just released the CUDA miner today. We have the OpenCL miner running for, I guess, a week now. So everything seems to be ready for launch.
So tell us a little bit about the mining. So you now have the opportunity starting tomorrow to become one of the first miners.
Exactly. So tomorrow at 2 p.m. GMT, we'll be rolling out the software for download on our website. Right now, people still can play with the testnet, to understand how to configure the things and how to run them. So tomorrow at 2, everyone is welcome to download and start mining. It can be done on a lot of different GPUs, so we support both NVIDIA and AMD with the OpenCL miner, and we have a CUDA miner for NVIDIA only. There are no mining pools right at start, so it will be solo mining, or people can build rigs and connect a lot of GPUs to one wallet and start mining. And we will be rolling out pool support. There will be people doing pool supports in the coming weeks, very soon.
Okay. And what about cooperation with exchanges?
So we will be listing in about a month, starting from launch, because then there will be kind of enough coins to even talk about. So we're getting a lot of interest from exchanges. We're talking to several. There is still some technical work to be done because Mimble Wimble has some very significant differences, right? Like the other side has to be up to receive a payment. So it's different from Bitcoin. So there is some work to be done with the API so that it can be integrated in the exchange.
What do you mean by up?
Running, right? So in Bitcoin, I can just send you money and you can come over like 10 years from now and get it. In Mimble Wimble, your wallet needs to come online to receive and sign the transaction and send it back.
You actually need to be online in order to receive
Yeah, you don't have to be online at the same time, but because we have like a system that we call the Secure Bulletin Board System, the SBBS, that kind of keeps your messages for some time, currently for 24 hours. It can be changed, but it's not forever. Right? So if I send you a transaction, you have to come online to kind of pick it up and sign your part and send it back.
So you need to actually collect the money within 24 hours or you don't get it?
Yeah.
It goes back?
Yeah, at least in this particular, in this first implementation, yes.
Okay.
Yes. We can change the delay, but until you come up, until you get online and do your part of the transaction, the money is not yours.
Right. So why 24 hours? What's the idea behind that?
So we just chose that. We just chose it as a reasonable threshold right now for starters, but this can be easily changed. But it probably won't be forever anyway. So it will be for some limited period.
So how will you go, since it's now a startup that is at the center of this? There's going to be some talk about some type of centralization since you're driving the development, right?
Yeah.
So what if some people really don't like some of the choices that you guys are making?
Yeah. So what we want to do and wanted to do from the start is to pass the control and pass the control of the protocol to the community. And to do that, we're setting up a foundation. It will be a Swiss foundation, most likely. We already started the processes and will be set up somewhere in the first half of the year. And this foundation is something that we don't want to control. Again, very much inspired by what Zcash did. Difference being that our foundation will get the money from the blockchain unconditionally. It's just baked into the blockchain. And the idea is to attract reputable people from the community and from various places and have them decide how to deploy the funds.
Right.
Okay, and then we'll have like a governance which is more community oriented, because we understand that in this cryptocurrency world, it's not good to have a single actor controlling everything, because this actor can become bad, greedy, selfish, whatever.
Yeah, but what you're saying is not going to make the people who have that criticism happy because they don't like a foundation either.
Yeah, this is a mitigation. We think there has to be a certain body that does something in the beginning. The foundation will be there for 5 years.
Right.
And maybe somewhere in this period between now and 5 years from now, the foundation would be able to relinquish the control to the community, but we'll need to build this strong community and build all the mechanisms and see that it's working. I mean, the foundation will need to do that.
Okay. So
because right now,
yeah.
if we just release it and then there is no strong developer community yet. It needs to be built.
So what are you doing to build that?
So we are engaging with the community now. Not enough. We will start doing that much more.
How?
By offering people to develop different things for the protocol. Because again, right now we want to do things fast, and building the community is a process, and you need to work with the third-party outside developers to explain how things work, to support them. We're now working hard on building a nice documentation, right, so that anyone can start doing stuff, and it's getting better every day, and we'll get much better, and we'll engage the development community more, and it's a hard task. It's a hard task. So we hope people will like what we're doing, and then people will join. And we'll do the usual stuff like hackathons and meetups and all that kind of stuff. We see that interest in Wimble is growing.
Right.
So yeah, I'm sure people will be joining.
So the way to get in touch would be through your Gitter and Telegram and
yeah, absolutely.
How is it organized now?
So our main website is at www.beam.mw from Wimble. We have a very active Telegram community. We're on GitHub. So any of those channels, people are most welcome to join us there.
All right. Thanks very much, Alexander.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thank you.